channel. I'm Sissian from manifest__Sissian, and today we're speaking about a very interesting topic which has really been thrown into our consciousness already. It's all about the rapture. Today we're talking about the rapture. Being somebody who is not Christian, right? But I do have a channel which speaks about spirituality. I felt like I would just like talk about it because of the fact that it speaks a lot about faith and belief, right? Spirituality is about faith and belief, but also where you live, the way you understand life, right? Christianity is more of as a religion, it's a movement, yes. It's sometimes a way of life as well, depending on the person and how they're relating with the teachings, right? It's about the core character Jesus, right? Because of the New Testament. The character Jesus doesn't appear in the First Testament, right? Of the Bible, the first book of the Bible, right? The New Testament brings Jesus, okay? So let's speak more about the history of religion, Christianity as a religion, okay? It started in the first century and it was not called Christianity. It was not seen as a religion. It was more of a movement, okay? The character called Yeshua, aka Jesus, taught about love, about peace, about wellness, and living a godly life, basically. Look at it in the basic way, template of what it was. It was more like a movement where you was trying to enlighten people and educate them of the power that they had, that they don't live like victims, but they live like empowered. Then he did a lot of miracles according to what the Bible says, right, in that time. So his disciples, after he was crucified, right, after he was crucified, then his disciples went on to actually teach and live and practice the teachings of Yeshua or Jesus at that time. It was not called Christianity at this time, but there was no church. People were going around and just talking about the good news about the Messiah. They called him Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah at that time, right? Basically, right? So Christianity, what it is, what it looks like now, didn't look like how it looks like at the beginning. It looks different now because it evolved in time. Then after that, in the 4th century, then the Roman Empire decided to adapt it as a religion and then make it an official religion from an ideology or movement to now a religion in the 4th century. So these are the things that people are not aware about, right? So when you are introduced into a religion that has a history, if you don't understand the history, you don't understand what it really is, because it comes from a understanding, it comes from a perception. Remember that everything that is not a religion is normally coming from an occult, and called an occult, and a movement or an ideology. Governments then, or people in power, will make something of philosophy, an occult, a movement, understanding, a religion. Guardian is recognized officially. So only in the 4th century, the teachings of Yeshua or the teachings of Jesus were actually then adapted and recognized as a religion in the Roman Empire. Right. Now you must remember that before all religions in the world, we used to have paganism. Paganism is just living the natural flow of life. That it's about honoring the earth, it's about honoring the cycles of life, basically. Paganism is about, yes, deities, because human beings always needed something outside of them to actually be seen as a god. Okay, this was long before the metaphysical age of today, right? Human beings saw anything outside of them as greater than them. So I looked at the earth, and they started having paganism practices right now. Recognizing the earth, honoring the flows of life, recognizing yourself as part of life. Remember, the animals and nature and human beings were seen as one at the time before religions, okay? Religions introduced a concept of human beings have authority over nature. That's what religions have actually embedded in the human history, that human beings have authority over nature. Basically, now we're speaking about the history of religion and specifically Christianity, right? So then what happened? Because it spread right through the world, there was something called can't think of the Crusades. Yes, the Crusades. The Crusades is where they now enforced Christianity in certain areas of the world to influence people to leave pagan practices or ideologies and adapt this new Christian philosophy. Now, remember that religion is always seen as something very political because it was actually originally created by, in the case of Christianity, created by and recognized via religion by the Roman Empire, which then governed that area of the world, right? So they went around in influencing all surrounding territories to turn and become Christian. Remember, the Roman Empire was a real empire because it had a lot of areas around it that it actually controlled and ruled and conquered. It'll have wars, it'll conquer an area, and then it'll basically it'll take and influence its lifestyle and also its ideology and also its religion. That's how Christianity spread, right? And then Christianity then spread further, but when it started dividing into different denominations, different church like the Protestants and the Anglicans and all that. They're sort of splitting from this animal called Christianity, which actually starts in the fourth century within the Roman Empire, right? Using the ideologies of the Jewish teachings of Yeshua, right? So remember that he who controls the world also controls the history of the world. So basically, being an empire, the Roman Empire was able to actually control the history of the world by printing these so-called Bible or books or scribes would be scribing and telling stories and creating the Bible basically, because whoever has the power to do that will do it well, right? So basically that's where it's coming from, right? So we need to understand that everything has a beginning, right? So when you're coming from a place of you're born into something, you don't understand it. Hi, how are you, gaming sniper? How are you doing? Right? Today we're talking about the rapture, because the rapture is now thrown in the collective field, and yes, there are people that really believe in it. So I'm going into the history of Christianity, and basically we'll then speak into what the rapture is, and basically why do certain Christians, not every Christian domination actually believes in the rapture. As I said again, that people come in and they come up with their own ideologies. Excuse me. So Jesus being the main character of the New Testament, the so-called savior of all Christians. You understand, the savior of the world, or a savior of all Christians, is the main character. So after um, the death of so-called Christ or Jesus or Yeshua, right? Yeshua, before it became a religion, okay, his followers did take account of what's happening and what happened and all the things that he said. Now remember that we're depending on oral history. Oral history means that a lot of the meaning can get lost in oral history. So that's why I'm saying, like, for example, whatever this character Yeshua did teach his followers is not necessarily what we are hearing now or what we are taught in the Christian Bible. It's not necessarily the same thing. Excuse me, because it can be lost in translation. It's a normal thing, like not like that telephone system. If you tell somebody something in a certain way, and that person tells the next person the same thing, he's not necessarily gonna tell you the original message. You see, this is when I'm saying what this guy had said probably got lost in translation, basically, right? Because there's no solid information to say that what we have now today is the true teachings, because we all know there were scribes were then writing, and they were finding different books, different versions of what happened when Yeshua was alive in on earth in Israel, in yeah, right. So those type of things we need to understand that by the time it came to us now, by the time we are reading the Bible, it's been translated so many times by different people, different ideologies. For example, um, the rapture was not mentioned. It's not the original teachings, right? The word rapture is not even mentioned in the Bible. However, there is in Thessalonians 4, 16 to 17, it speaks about believers caught up to meet Jesus, okay? And then again in Corinthians 15, 51 to 52 describes the mystery where believers will be changed and will be in the twinkle of an eye when the trumpet is sounded, okay? And then in John, book of John as well, John 14, 1 and 3, they also speak about the same thing, promise to return. Jesus said, or the Christ or the Messiah promised to return to his followers, and his followers will be with him. Okay. This is coming from the ideology of I need a savior and I need to believe in something outside of me. And the world, it gives people an idea of peace. I'm having peace now because I know I have a savior. All right. Hi everybody. Thank you for joining my live. So this is where the concept of the rapture is really coming from. Because remember that Christianity is designed for a specific reason. This guy's teachings of love and peace and wellness and oneness is now used for political reasons. It's been used from the time it was in incepted, from time it was even developed, right? At the beginning in the 1st century when the Roman emperor decided, or empire decided that they're going to make a Christianity their official religion after being pagan for many years before, centuries before. They decided for a specific reason, because there was divisions among the people. There were the pagans. Remember that the the Romans were pagan. They were pagan worshippers, right? They were pagans like everybody else around them. The Jews that branched off and started believing in Yeshua's teachings had moved away from that pagan way of thinking, right? And now they had this God character, and then they made Jesus their Messiah, right? He's the Son of God, that kind of thing. Remember, this is all like it's evolution of mankind's archetype, the evolution of mankind, if you look at it that way. Because human beings always look for something outside of them. We always looking for something outside of us. We cannot accept who we are. So we have to now tell ourselves stories, and everything is just a story, right? Everything is just a story. I'm doing well, Lavi. How are you? Hope you're well. Is it selling? Hope you're well. And you're saying goodbye, sweetie pie. Enjoy the rest of your day, right? So remember, it's all about that, right? In every philosophy, right, with religion, it's all about this God is higher than you, the God that you need to serve, the God that's going to save you, because somehow human beings need to be saved. We're always feeling unsafe. We don't feel good enough. We don't feel our self-esteem is so low, in the sense that we need something outside of ourselves, right? So basically that's where it's coming from. Now the rapture is quite an interesting concept, because it's all about a certain section of Christians that really believe in this, in Pentecostal, keep forgetting how to pronounce this thing, Pentecostal church, right? They believe in that, and the evangelist, they believe in that as well. But the original church of Christianity doesn't believe in the rapture in that way. Okay, so the way they are pushing it now, basically, Jesus is coming back and he's gonna take his believers and go back to heaven, and that's like before the 7 years of suffering on earth, okay, of tribulation, as they call it, the 7 years of tribulation. Now remember, this speaks a lot to it, to separation and division. It's not about the uniting people. It's about saying that we are better than you are because we serve this Jesus character, right? Now remember now that apparently only in the 19th century was the rapture introduced into Christianity by somebody called John Nelson Darby. This was something quite alarming to me, because it's not something that was actually practiced or even believed at the beginning. It's something that was just introduced, okay? As I said, this thing is evolving, because it had a beginning and it's been keeping evolving and changing by people introducing new things to it, right? New ideology, to it, right? So you will be believing something, thinking it's original something teaching from Jesus, but it was not. It was something that was actually taught and brought in after his death, long before, long after Yeshua passed. Sorry, in the 19th century, because the teachings of Yeshua in that area of the world at the time was in the first century. In the fourth century, it became a religion. I remember that anything can change because, as I said, hearsay. When I'm saying something to you that I heard from somebody else and I'm saying it to you, it's gonna come out differently. It will not be the same type of message. Now remember, from the first century to the fourth century, when it became a set religion, by then it has already evolved and became something else, another animal. It's not the original teachings or the original things that the character Yeshua had really said to his followers, right? So yeah, we are sitting in history and we're looking at the rest of history, trying to and make sense of this whole thing, okay? That's when your own discernment, because you are part of divine source, your own discernment should kick in terms of what feels right with you in terms of what is the rapture. What does it feel right to you as a person? Does it make sense on a spiritual level and also logically, right? Is even evidence for it? Is it scientifically possible for this to happen? Okay, so now this story just tells me about something that was given a different meaning at the beginning. It was something pure, something that was innocent, and it became something else by people's own ideology. So I don't know what this guy, Mr. John Nelson Darby, was thinking about when he started now introducing not only him but others. There probably was some powerful person in the church at the time in Christianity. Him and other people came about and introduced this whole rapture concept, just the way it is now, that there will be a time where Jesus will come and take the people up, those that serve him and honor Jesus and believe in Jesus. Let's call all the born agains. People are giving their life to Christ, okay? So really people believe in these things and they actually invest their life on it, right? Which is okay because believers is what we need, right? For you to be able to live your life, you need to have some sort of belief. But then you must ask yourself, does my belief seem true to me within myself? Is it serve me? Does it serve me as well? Everything that you believe can be changed, because remember, the world has been changing, because before Christianity, before other religions, we were pagans. We practiced paganism. We honored the flow of life. We checked astrology. We honored the earth. You get my point. We honored the earth. We respected animals. We were not how we are now. We were different then. But now, as time goes, we are evolving. Now we're at this age of metaphysical knowledge and understanding, metaphysical knowledge and understanding. But now when you have an understanding of metaphysics, right, and try and piece and understand and make and understand things like the rapture, you have to go back to the basics, but understand what does it really mean, where's it coming from, right? So I'm open to all information. What you believe in is your choice. There's no right and wrong. It's what works for you and what serves you that really counts, right? For me, you should be given a choice whereby you choose what you believe in. And I believe that's what happened too with evolution of the Christian church, because again, it decided to cut itself into pieces, divide itself in different practices, but still calling itself Christianity. So each one is saying that my part is right, and each one is saying my part is right and yours is not right, basically, right? So it leaves a person in a place where you need to understand, especially for Christians, you need to understand, does it make sense to me? You understand? And this belief that I'm having doesn't really make sense to me. It's not about being right and wrong. Does it serve me? Because people can believe anything as long as it serves them. And when it stops serving them, they drop it and they pick up another belief, right? That's how it is. Like, I was Christian before. I'm not Christian anymore. It served me before. It doesn't serve me anymore. So I dropped it and I chose something else, basically. And that's how we are evolving in life. That's how we are evolving in life, because nothing is totally true yet to every person. There is objective and subjective truths, okay? What I believe is subjective to my life what I believe and what I see is true to me, subjective, right? Then what is objective is basically can be proven, scientifically proven, meaning that there's no doubt. I have proof, scientific proof. I've done the research that is called objective truths, right? But every single person has a subjective truth. That's what I believe in cannot be proven scientifically. It's my belief. It's what I believe in my heart to be true to me. They are the subjective truth. Now remember that Christianity has people who really have this whole idea of subjective, but they want to call it objective. That is scientifically proven that the thing is really true, but it's not the case, right? What you believe in is your business. Whatever it works for you. Okay, so now they say the raptures yesterday, the 23rd, and today, the 24th. Apparently, some guy, Pastor Joshua, yeah, from South Africa, did say that yesterday and today is a rapture, and he really believes in it, like over 100%. He's saying 1,000%. He's 100% sure. True. That is his subjective truth. It's what he's manifesting in his life. Not every single person, right? Not every single person, because now people are afraid. Oh my God, it's a rapture. People don't understand his objective truth and his subjective truth. That pastor has his own truth, and God bless him. It's what he's creating, what he's manifesting. Okay. Then now you told the rest of the world, because remember, Christianity teaches you about what saving others. Christianity is about saving others, about you being the sheep, what getting helping the sheep, whatever sort it may be, right? So now you spread it out the rest of the world, and I only came to know about this thing, this new phenomenon of the rapture. It's not really new, but this now phenomenon that people are now focusing on Sunday. When somebody asked me in my life, being a spiritual channel and spiritual content sharer, they asked me a question: what do I feel about the rapture? Okay, I don't remember clearly what I said, because I was in the middle of a live doing a tarot reading at the same time, and this person asked me the question. But I don't believe in the rapture. I don't believe in it in that way. I don't even believe in most of the Christian teachings, the way they think of it, the way I figured it out in the head. I don't believe in that, right? So I believe in love. I believe that every single person is what united. Every person is united. Hi, Mr. Smith Jaden, how you doing? Hope you're well. I believe that every person is united. I don't believe in separatism. I don't believe in ego-based ideologies, because rapture to me speaks ego-based ideology, speaks about the us, the you, and the us. You guys and us that believe in Christ, and now we're gonna go and be raptured and go to and be with Jesus Christ. You get my point? What about the rest of the people? The teaching of Yeshua, as far as I'm concerned, is about Christ consciousness. It's about love. It's about unity. Yes, I'm from South Africa, lovey. She sounds like she's from South Africa. I am Ash from South Africa. Where are you from, Ash? Jaden, and is it Salang? Where are you guys from? I'm from South Africa right now. Our South African pastor, Mr. Pastor Joshua, had mentioned or declared that he got a message from God that today and yesterday was actually the rapture, right? Then I spoke to you guys about the fact there's truths, objective truths, and subjective truth. This is his truth, but he received in his uh dream, or whatever he was dreaming about it, or whatever. And I'm thinking, as pastor, as he has the gift of spirit, he has a gift of clairvoyance, right? And he had dreams. A lot of people have dreams. A lot of people have dreams. Now we might sleep on a bed, and then you dream, and then you dream the world is ending, and then you go online, you tell every person, because it's according to what's in the Bible, in the Christian Bible. And when I listen to that pastor's story, and he explains very nicely, he explains that I listen to his interview because I want to be objective. I want to hear what he's saying, and I want to see where it's coming from. I'm not criticizing any person. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying he's right. But I specifically want to hear clearly what's all this rapture story about, where is it coming from, and how he got that message that is actually 2025. Apparently, this guy got this message in 2011 already, right? He had his message sometime in 2011 where he had a vision, and God gave him this vision. And because he's a pastor, he's into Christianity, he studied about all these things that this new apostolic church members believe in. And one of the things they do believe in is in the tribulation of 7 years tribulation, and then the rapture and everything, right? So he studied that to get more information, and I believe he probably got some messages in his own understanding. Okay, this is how it works. Every single person has a clairvoyance, a gift. I can get message from spirits, you can get message from spirits. When I get a message from spirits, I might then just translate it differently than you. It could be the very same message, but because my channel, the channel, I have a belief system, I have a worldview, I can only get the message or decipher the message according to my worldview. Now, Pastor Joshua has a worldview that's very, very apostolic Christian, right? He really believes in it, and because of that, it came out like that. Okay, he saw Jesus. He had a countless encounters with Jesus according to his interviews. Okay, according to him, he had countless of interviews with Jesus, which is all good. So I'm not saying that he's lying or whatever, but it is his subjective experience. It cannot be proven. It's not objective truth. It is subjective to him, basically, right now. Why should the rest of the world take his subjective truth and make it our own? Unless we aligned to his perception, unless you aligned to his perception, right? Then I did some research. Not all the churches in Christianity, all the sects in Christianity believe in the rapture. Not per se, not in the way that Pastor Joshua and the Apostolic Church believe in the rapture, right? Okay, there's something we need to take in consideration. So when somebody tells you something, okay, you take it, you sift it in with your own worldview and your own understanding, and then you decide, is this true to me or not? Hi, Aubrey. How are you doing, my sweetie pie? Hope you're well. Today we're speaking about this concept of rapture because it is in our conscious field at the moment. In the conscious fields, in the conscious mind, the collective mind. It is there, it's online, and people have been speaking about it since, like, I think early on this month or something like that. And there's a main character, Pastor Joshua from South Africa, who had a vision and was told already in 2011 or so that the raptures are happening on the 2025, right? And apparently the Apostolic Church has been waiting every year to, like, I think from 2023, 2024, according to Pastor Joshua's interview, he said that, right? They've been waiting for the coming of Christ. Okay, they've been looking and waiting for the coming of Christ, and we all know that that's the big thing about Christianity, that Jesus is coming. So my question is, how do you know that Jesus has really come already, that his spirit and energy is really here? How do you know that it happened or not? KZN colored accents, yes, I'm right. Am I right? Yes, you're all right, sweetie pie. KZN colored accent, as you call it, Audrey. Yes, that's me. I'm from Durban, KZN, born and bred here. Right, I've spent some time in Joburg as well, and spent some time out of the country, but yes, I'm from here, Durban, KZN. Yeah, it's an easy accent to actually pick up, right? It's very, very easy to pick up, right? So that's, at least somebody now knows where I'm from. A lot of people wonder where she's from, why your accent is like that, but I'm happy to see that there are some people from South Africa here. Yes, good stuff, Audrey. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that, right? Thank you for sharing that. I don't know. They say the world was going to end in 2012. Correct, yes. It keeps on ending. They keep on saying it's going to end, yes, and end then. I agree with you. Then 2012, the end of the year 2016, there was some sort of an ending happening there. Guys, we've lived through this thing so much. Right now, the concept of the rapture is a very spiritual concept because it's affecting people differently. If you're a Christian and this is your teaching, you really believe in it. And sometimes, they even say that you could get up in the morning and a person's gone, or people are sitting in the same bus or airplane, and next minute they disappear, they got raptured. People don't know how it's going to happen. The question is, why are you worried about something that's subjective? It's not an objective truth. It cannot be proven. There's nothing that can prove that this thing is really gonna take place, or even that this character Yeshua had really said that. All he said that you will be with me again sometime, whenever. I'm just roughly speaking about it. We'll see each other again. That we'll be again in heaven and stuff like that, right? So this Derby guy, John Nelson Derby, decided, well, he's going to add it into the apostolic teachings, the Christian apostolic teachings about the rapture, the way it is now, the way that they really believe it is. Apostolic Christians believe in it. Evangelists, yeah, evangelistic churches believe in it, right? So basically, the rapture is a Christian, I believe, right, that Jesus Christ will suddenly appear and be caught up with the rest of them up in heaven, and they're gonna go up to heaven in the air with Jesus. This is often described as an event where Christians are taken into Christ's presence and transformed into glorified bodies. Yeah, I remember that part. Your body even changes. This body that you're using now is going to die, and you'll get another heavenly body, and you're going to go into heaven. Now the question is, being it true or not, all right, it is an ideology, and your people really believe in it. They really believe in it, right? If you look at the Bible as well, if you go to it, the book of Thessalonians 4:17 says there, right? Then we who are alive and left behind will be caught up together with them in the clouds to see the Lord in the air. And now the Lord is Jesus, right? Yeshua. And we'll be with the Lord, basically, right? That's 17. This is before the 7 years of tribulation, according to the Bible. Tribulation is the 7 years of extreme suffering and turmoil in on earth. Okay, basically, because this is the end times. This is now before Jesus comes again. After that 7 years, he comes again, whatever story may be, right? So all this is in the Christian Bible, guys. Now, we are at the time of transition, right? We move from one stage to a stage of Aquarius, right? Basically, it's love and Christ consciousness in terms of spiritual people that believe in spirituality, that don't believe in religion, they see it differently, okay? So everybody's seeing this thing differently. Now, it shows that as human beings, we are very creative. We're very creative in our mind. We can create anything and make anything seem to be believed, to be true, right? So these predictions that they have, they come in various sizes and shapes and they feel differently, right? So basically, you have to decide, okay, what's true to me? What does this really mean to me? Okay, there's only one thing we need to understand. I personally believe that Jesus was here in the first century. He did what he did. He left his mark. He left his blueprints. If we don't catch the blueprints of love and understanding and unity, and we get messed and caught up in the dogma of religion and being pushed by other people's ideologies because they had their own agendas, right? Remember, everything is either subjective or objective. When the subjective, it's your personal perception. You have no proof of it, and you have no way of proving it now. Same as with this Pastor Joshua, right? That has this very subjective ideology that today, the 25th, and yesterday is the rapture, right? And he was saying that he's like 1,000 times sure. I mean, this guy was having interviews from the beginning of or the end of last month or something like that, and having interviews and convincing people that it's a rapture today and rapture yesterday, right? That's his own subjective ideology. He had no proof of it. He cannot say, this is my proof. All he says is according to the Bible. According to the Bible written by man. The Bible is written by man, right? And it's been changed so many times. Even the rapture was only added in the 4th century. No, not the 4th century, in the 19th century, right? Christianity became a religion in the 4th century when the Roman Empire declared it a religion, okay? Right. And then only in the 4th century, that's when it became a religion. In the 1st century, right before the death of Christ, Okay, Yeshua was here, and you spoke to his people, and he did this thing, trying to help them to see life differently, to see themselves differently, to be more loving and kind and more forgiving, and be more brotherly and welcoming of all other people. Different to the Old Testament. The Old Testament is about the tribe, our tribe, and the rest of everybody else is our enemies, and we must take from them the promised land and all those things. Remember that something very interesting happened too as well. Okay, Palestine is now declared a independent state at this time as well. Britain and I think it was France declared Palestine as independent state. Remember that Palestine and Israel have been fighting. The Jews have been fighting for the land, right? That kind of thing. And this war that's been going on now. So when you become a sovereign country, it's, according to politics, right? You need to understand that what it means when they say you're now a sovereign country, meaning that your land is yours and you have control of your own land. Nobody can come and interfere in your own business. Nobody can be taking your land freely, like what they've been doing to the Palestinian people all these years, right? Basically, so now they're independent, they're equal to Israel, they're equal to them. Now they are now a country, they are sovereign, they declared a sovereign country, right? So it's quite interesting that all this happened at the same time. All of a sudden now, the 23rd and 24th of September is Rapture. You think of it very clearly. How does that feel? What does it bring to mind to you when you understand these things? Because nothing happens for no reason in this reality. Everything is linked to everything else. Why all of a sudden now there's a rapture on the 2025 and 23rd and 24th, and like in the same period, Palestine gets declared a sovereign state. It's given the sovereignty to manage itself independently. Right now, they have rights as a country. They're now declared a sovereign state. Then now they can control and rule themselves without outside interference. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. I live in South Africa, right? South Africa held colonization till 1994, till the 80s, right through. Other African countries were released from colonization in the 60s. The reason why, one of the main reasons why they were even kept allowed to run to be colonizing South Africa, right, till 1994 was because of the sovereignty of South Africa. Each country has a sovereignty, right, with a political law. You can't just come and control another country. You cannot come and say, I want your land, that land belongs to me. You understand? That person, they can't come and just implement and push their own way and weight on you because you're a sovereign country. Now, remember, Palestine was not declared a sovereign state for many, many years. So they were now vulnerable to Israel's or the Jewish influence over them, taking their land and abusing them anyhow because of the same Bible that Christians believe in, that says that Palestinian land is actually the promised land, right? So everything that's there belongs to the Jews, that kind of thing. So it's kind of weird when you think about it, because everything is related to the other, right? Same as this whole rapture concept. Okay, why is it happening now? Why every couple of years we hear about this rapture? Why is it such a big thing? Why there needs to be a separation and a division, the movements of certain people that believe in Jesus Christ go to heaven? Why they want to be seen as so godly and the only people that's accepted by Jesus? Ask yourself, why is it so? Why do you want to seem to be more loved because you gave your life to Christ? Does it make you more important to everybody else? For me, that is division in its greatest capacity. You are saying that you are better than somebody else. I deserve happiness and peace and wellness and be with God and Jesus because I believe in Jesus. You that don't believe it, you that's Islamic, you that chose to have a different belief, you are gonna go to hell basically, because you don't belong to my club. That's the thing that comes to me. It's about separatism. It's about saying that we are superior and you are not important. You are lesser than us, right? That is way against the teachings, according to what I understand about the original teachings of Jesus, of Christianity. There's a division. Are you trying to convince people by telling them that if you don't give your life to Christ, because apparently in this period of time, that this Pastor Joshua has been spreading the word of the rapture, a lot of people have given their lives to Christ, even though so-called people walked away from it. Right? They give their life to Christ out of fear because they're afraid of going to hell. They're afraid of the 7 year of tribulation. They want to go to the skies and meet Jesus. So that means it's all run by fear. You've been pushed by fear. You've been pushed by fear, not by you choosing lovingly that this is what I really desire. This is what my heart is calling me to do, right? This is what you've been pushed by fear because you're afraid of the 7 years of tribulation, not understanding that the end time started a long time ago. We're in the midst of it. We're in the midst of it. Remember that everybody's experiencing the end times differently. You understand? Not every country will be experiencing the tribulation the same. Not every person will be experiencing the tribulation the same. It's the same thing in a people born in one home, okay? They have different ideologies, right? Even if there's not enough money, not every single person is experiencing this whole concept of scarcity the same way. And not every single person is experiencing scarcity. In my last live, I mentioned about the COVID being one of the core examples. Not every single person experienced the COVID in the same way. Same with the so-called tribulation, guys, right? Again, that each person has their own worldview and their own universe. You're living in your life here. You might be in a certain space. It doesn't mean you're all experiencing the life the same way. Okay, it's all about you, your belief, and are you connected to love? Are you connected to peace? Are you connected to well-being? Are you connected to prosperity and abundance? Are you connected to Christ consciousness, as they call it? Or are you connected to oneness? Are you safe in your body? Basically, that's what it's all about. So people are afraid. That's the greatest fears. Even Napoleon Hill speaks about it in one of his books about the fact that people are afraid of death, they're afraid of losing, they're afraid of a lot of things, of getting old, they're afraid of a lot of things. Okay, so people now all decided to give their life to Christ. They want to be raptured, they want to meet up Jesus in the sky and be raptured. Right now, remember that it's all about a few concepts. Okay, the rapture is based on a few ideologies. Number one, deliverance of the of the faithful. So you that's not faithful will not be delivered, even if you are Christian. Okay, if you're not, life example, because there are Christians that they're born again Christians, apostolic churches. Okay, so you that's a Catholic, right? Then you won't be raptured because the Catholic Church doesn't teach about that. It's not pushed. There's not an agenda. Okay, and then tribulation into eternity. The moment when the believers receive their glorified bodies, they fit with eternal life with Jesus, with their glorified bodies, okay? And then also fulfilling God's promise. Apparently, the moment when believers receive, right, this new deliverance, okay, and they get pulled up into heaven and with their heavenly bodies, right? Like Jesus will turn and with their followers, and he'll help them and they will not suffer the 7 years of suffering and pain. Okay, that apparently that's been foretold, right? And then engagements and hope. In Paul Thessalonians, yeah, 4:18 tells believers to encourage one another with their words, okay, with their words, basically, right? The doctrine was meant to bring comfort to the Christians, apparently, right? So apparently they put the rapture to bring comfort to the Christians that they will not suffer the rest of the 7 year of tribulation with the rest of the sinners, apparently. You understand? All those people that have been given their life to Christ. Right? The 7 year tribulation, a worldwide suffering, right, that will happen, and there will be judgments before the second coming of Christ. That's what it's all about, right? So if you're interested, go and look at it, right? Just to get information and so you can get an understanding of what people have been speaking about. What is this rapture all about, right? Understanding is better than you are not understanding what people are saying and why people are saying certain things. The rapture speaks about separation based on the ego, because the God of the Bible is based on ego, right? Basically, how they painted it. This God that's all judging, he's all knowing, but it's all judging. He doesn't. He always wants to take, and he gives only to those people that are doing his bidding, right? Basically, that's what the God, the Bible, doesn't seem like a loving God, a forgiving God, right? You get my point? So those are the things that divide and separate from what Yeshua was saying. Yeshua was all about the love, right? Telling people that yes, you have control of your life, make decisions that add value in your life, love each other, and don't criticize other people, right? Be open to share, right? Now, does the rapture speak to you? Does it tell you that it's a message of love and unity, or it's a message of this is our club and we're gonna go up in rapture because we believe in we have given our life to Christ? Okay, and yet the beginning of the teachings of Jesus Christ is not about you giving your life to Christ, about you giving your life to love, making decisions that add value to the unity, to the totality of every single person, not about dividing and saying that you will go to heaven and those who, and others will stay in hell, whatever sort it may be, right? Now the spiritual concepts of the rapture is a bit different, right? The meaning to people that believe in spirituality, Christ returning is in glory, represents the awakening of the Christ consciousness in humanity and within the individual soul. The awakening of Christ consciousness within humanity and individual soul. Final judgment means purifying the light of truth. There's no true judgment, right? It's all an illusion, right? The illusion of division will fall away and only what is eternal will remain, okay? It's not about punishment, it's about exposure and transformation, right? That final judgment thing is not really judgment, it's about change and transformation and exposure of the truth, that the only thing that's important is love, okay? Then the resurrection symbolizes the victory of the spirits over matter. Symbolizes the victory of the spirits over matter, meaning that the spirit now controls all things, that the spirit is more important than the physical world, okay? Then the renewal of creation points to both future, that's the hope, restoration of the world, and presents inner renewal, your soul made new and divine, right? Because it's already divine, right? But the problem is that we put ourselves down with our dogma of life, right? We buy into the illusion of division and separatism. Spirituality, the second coming is not, it's not only external event, it's also internal, divine awakening of who you are, right? Christ coming again happens every time somebody chooses love and truth. Christ coming again happens every time somebody chooses forgiveness, to forgive, right, and love, and chooses the truth of life, right, that everything is one. That's when Christ comes within you, when you decide to forgive that person that hurt you, when you decide that you're going to share with those that don't have, when you, not out of ego but out of love, when you decide to be more loving, then Christ is always coming, has come to you. You've decided, you've chosen Christ consciousness. That's what Christianity says. It's not about an event where people go up in the sky and all those things. It's not about separating others from other people. Those certain people that feel they are special and others that don't are not falling into the category. Excuse me. It's not about separation. It's about uniting yourself with love. It's about uniting yourself with peace. It's about you owning yourself and being truthful to yourself that this is my life. I made wrong, I did wrong, I'm sorry for what I did. I will do things differently. It's not about anything else. It's a consciousness, it's a way of living. It's living in peace with yourself and others. Not saying that I am better because I believe in Christ and I am waiting for the rapture. You're not any better. You're just an ordinary person. You only have perception, which is really subjective because there's no evidence behind it. There's no evidence behind it at all, right? The subjective ideology. Because the Bible can be seen in many different ways. You can read a verse and interpret it different ways, depending on your own consciousness, your own awareness, right? So we'll say to use the Bible, the words in the Bible, the verses in the Bible. When you read the verse in the Bible, depending on the person, it'll be interpreted differently. Depending on your condition, if your heart is open. Like, for example, when people that are spiritual and not religious, and they don't have any religious dogma or upbringing, bringing or teaching, read the Bible. I don't see it the same as somebody who was indoctrinated in religion. They don't see it the same. Because their worldview is different, right? Remember that everything you will then determine it according to your own worldview. You will always determine everything according to your own worldview, right? So the bigger picture here, the bigger spiritual purpose of both these concepts, hope as one of them, giving people hope. You see, the whole idea of rapture is to give people hope, right? To give them hope that yes, if things will be okay, that you are taken care of, that you will always be taken care of. Just like the concept of heaven. Heaven is also another concept of hope that yes, there's a place called heaven. Forgetting you can have heaven right here. Heaven is happiness, it's peace, it's wellness within yourself. The awakening. They call believers who live awake, watchful and ready. Okay, they tell you must be watchful and ready for the coming of Christ. Spiritually alert rather than keep yourself in materialism. Okay, and I remember a lot of people do understand this concept, right? But remember, if you're going to be operating in fear, every experience is going to be a fearful experience. You're going to manifest according to the fear that you have, right? Then the union both emphasizes the destiny of the soul or is oneness in Christ, okay? Meaning in Christ, consciousness in love, in peace, in wellness, okay? Whether by catching up or sharing about the resurrection, right? The resurrection was another story. I mean, we celebrate these Christian things right through the year, twice a year. It's the birth of Christ and the death of Christ, okay? And now we have in this phenomenon when they're waiting for the rapture so they can go to heaven. It's up to you, right? Remember, this is all ideology, right? There is no right and wrong. I'm not here to say that they're wrong or they're right. It is a perception. It is a perception. What you believe becomes true to you. So they truly believe it because they really, really believe in it. They really believe that, yes, there's this rapture and Jesus is going to come and take them to heaven. They really believe in all these things, right? Remember that suffering is something that's normal, right? Because we're not in heaven yet. This is the third dimensional reality, right? But suffering comes with a teaching, with a lesson as well. It isn't need of right or good. It's not a good thing or bad thing, but it is just a concept of our growth, how we grow, right? So a permission slip. Let's call it a permission slip. The rapture could be called a permission slip according to Bashar because it gives people permission to have faith and believe in something bigger than them. Even Christianity, it's about believing in something bigger than them. And if that word serves you, if it serves you, then keep with it, right? Remember that if it serves you, keep with it. If it serves you to believe in the rapture, right? Remember, it's neither right or wrong, it's just a belief. If it serves you to believe in the rapture or not believe in the rapture, right, then keep it if it serves you, if it makes you happy, if it keeps you psychologically safe, physically safe, energetically safe in your mind, then use it, right? Remember, it's all just a permission slip, as Bashar says. Okay? The rapture is not universal agreement, it's not a fact. It's a subjective thing, right, in Christianity, and not the whole of Christianity. It's a belief or in a certain representation based on certain Bible passages and how you interpret them, right? Like number one, namely Thessalonians 4:16-17 and Corinthians 15 to 51 to 52, right? Then if you read there's literal view, that's by certain sects like the apostolics that literally believe in it, right? Then there's symbolic belief. Now the Catholic Church and the other Orthodox churches and the Protestants believe the rapture verses describe the general resurrection at Christ's second coming, not separate event. They don't believe it's a separate event, right? The apostolics believe it is a separate event, right? The Orthodox believe it's not separate from the resurrection, right, of Christ or the second coming of Christ. Okay, which is quite interesting. In the spiritual side of things, maybe the way I would see it, it's viewed as a rapture symbolic of the soul's ongoing transformation being lifted into divine union, not necessarily a physical event. Okay, it's about consciousness, expanding your consciousness. It's the rapture is symbolic of the soul's ongoing transformation or evolution, being lifted into the divine union with divine love, not necessarily a physical event. You see, again, it's all about your worldview. Again, this is what I believe is subjective to me. What you believe is subjective to you, right? It can only be objective when it can be proven scientifically in this world. That's how we really see things, okay? But remember that spirituality is subjective, it's not objective, because in most cases it's, but now we are matching science and spirituality with quantum physics that also gives you some answers to some beliefs that spiritual minded people have. Certain beliefs can also be proven with quantum physics as well. Right now, it becomes moves out of the sphere of being subjective to a sphere of being objective truth. There's evidence around it, right? Remember that. Remember, all these things are all worldviews and beliefs, right? You shouldn't be made to suffer because of a certain belief that you have, right? If the belief doesn't work for you, then you can just move that belief and then believe something else that works for you and serves you. Everything that we believe, I must serve us. Once it stops serving you, you stop and you stop believing something else. Like as I said at the beginning, in the first century, right, or even before the first century, before the birth of Christ, people were using paganism. They were working with paganism. They believed in that. That was their core construct, right? And then later on in the fourth century, the Roman Empire creating a religion, implementing Christianity and introducing Christianity to the Roman Catholic Church. They introduced something that serves them. Now we've been following Christianity because the people sort of believe in Christianity, right? So there will come a time, right, maybe in this lifetime where you feel, well, I'm going to let go of this perception and I'm going to believe something else because it doesn't serve me anymore. That's the evolution of human beings, right? Now, I am not where I was 7 years ago, even 10 years ago. I'm somewhere else because I've got a new belief system. And it's okay to change as well, right? When you are stuck is when you don't understand because you're afraid to change what does not work for you anymore. You're afraid to walk away from what does not work for you because you believe that you will maybe go to hell or maybe lose friends or stuff like that. This is where a religion becomes like a jail. You get stuck in it because you're afraid that you're going to lose people's love and people's acceptance of you, or you're afraid you're going to go to hell or something. And that's when you become a prisoner of your own belief system. When you become a prisoner of your own belief system, and you're living in hell per se in your human body. You're living in hell because it doesn't serve you anymore. You don't believe it anymore. It doesn't work for you anymore. You're just continuing it because you're trying to please society. That's another thing with belief. Belief systems are forever changing, right? It was forever changing. And what I believe, you don't necessarily need to believe it, right? And you don't need to believe what your family believes. You believe what you specifically, that what has specifically worked for you. That's how it's supposed to be. Your belief is supposed to be linked to your worldview. If your worldview changes, your belief system is going to change as well, right? That's a given. It's a given, and people think that it's forever. That's I look at Christians and I look at other religious people, and I try to understand that aren't you evolving? Aren't you seeing something different? Aren't you changing your worldview? Aren't you questioning this thing? Right? Remember, it's neither right or wrong. It's only a perception because whatever you believe is your business. Right? It's your business. Whatever you believe is your business. So the rapture is for Christians a physical belief, a real thing that they believe that Christianity is all about that. Certain apostolic churches believe in rapture. Not all churches believe in rapture the same way. Okay. Others believe it's not separated from the second coming of Christ. Okay. The second coming of Christ is another perception if you think about it. Christ coming, and how do you know when he's gonna come and how he's gonna come? People don't know. Right? So people, they make up these ideas and this is how Christ is gonna come in, and then people start spreading it around to people, and then it becomes an accepted belief, and then they share this belief, and then they start manifesting it in that sense. Right? So remember that religion is very politically based. It's a political movement. It's not based on nature. Religion's not based on nature. I think the paganism way of thinking was more in flow with nature, because they honored nature, they honored the seasons, they honored the flows, you know what I mean? They honored earth, and they honored the animals, and they treasured the animals and respected the animals. And religion comes in and it takes you away from nature and puts you in another space where you are this being that's much smaller, and you're all dependent on this God outside of you, right? So it takes away a lot from who you are. At least with paganism, you are together with nature. You are part of nature, you're part of God, you're part of life. Okay, you knew exactly why things were happening and when things were happening, because you could see the seasons change, and you knew, well, now it's time for hibernation. Then in summer and spring, it's time for new beginnings, new renewal. Even me too, in my mind, I start thinking of new things because I'm part of nature. You understand? I understand there's death and there's life. It's a flow. Then religion came in and it became something else. Then we started saying that we are above nature, we are the gods, we must control the animals, we must now uh, commercialize them because we are masters of them. See, now taking away from the oneness and the all, the unity, taking away from the unity and the oneness. That's the shadow part of religion. Remember, I said that everything has a shadow and a light. Everything has a good and a bad. It depends, right? Everything has a good and a bad. Not everything is bad. So religion itself is not necessarily bad, right? However, it has a light and it has a darkness. It has a shadow and it has a light. You decide on how you want to live your life, because all things are permissible here, right? There's a freedom of choice. It's a freedom of choice. So whoever wants to believe it in the rapture, let them believe it if it serves them, if it serves their consciousness at this time. And that might even change, because things are forever changing. That might even change. You understand? It's forever changing, right? I hope you guys are well. If you not have not been subscribed to me as yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. My channel is all about spirituality and wellness, and manifesting your best life. Remember, your religion is your worldview, so it creates your life. Okay, your spirituality is your worldview, so it creates your life. Everything. That's what I'm speaking about. Concept like the rapture, because it's part of spirituality, it's part of religion. There's people that are spiritual see it differently, people that are religious see it differently, right? But it's all part of what you believe that actually creates your own reality. And whatever serves you, as Bashar says, if it serves you, then it's fine. Ask yourself, how does it serve me? If I'm not happy in this thing, then it's not serving me. Then why am I following this path? Why am I following this ideology? Because I'm not happy here. I'm not feeling good in myself with this practice that I'm practicing. Remember that spirituality is a lifestyle, and so is religion. Is also a lifestyle. If you look at, if like the Islamic way of living is a lifestyle, not so much in Christianity, because Christians are more like lukewarm. They don't really live it to a point whereby you can see it in their culture, in the expression, everything. Okay, that's the thing about these different philosophies, right? Remember that everything that you decide to do, understand where it's coming from, get the history, understand where it's coming from, so that you can make a clear decision that's right for you. When you understand what is this about, what is Christianity about, what is religion about, what is Islamic about, what Thaiism is about, with so many different religions and philosophies. What about Buddhism? What Buddhism is about? When you go into the history and understand it clearly, don't be pushed by other people telling you to be saved and you need to give your life to Christ. To do that, you must do that. No, don't be forced to do something. Do things according to clear understanding. Get the information and then make the decision with a clear ideology. That's why I started with the history of religion. I just briefly went over the history of religion slightly, just briefly, as I started my life today, because everything begins, it has a root. For you to practice something, understand the root where it's coming from. Don't be like many people. We born into it and then we live it and we never ever move from it. We don't question it. And now you manifest in your life according to the philosophy that you are following, but you don't understand the philosophy. You don't understand what it means. You're not asking your higher self. You're not asking yourself, is it true for me? Is it true to me what I am practicing, what I believe? You don't be driven, right? Don't be lukewarm, as I say in Christian. The Christians say, don't be lukewarm. Understand what you're putting yourself into always, right? So have a great day. right? And happy Heritage Day for those that are South African and are watching this live. Happy Heritage Day, and I hope that this day will bring you a lot of peace and wellness, okay? And remember that you believe what you choose to believe. Don't be pushed by other people. Go do the research first, then you get to believe it. Don't be pushed by fear. There's nothing to fear here, nothing at all, okay? Have a great day, guys, and yeah, enjoy yourself today. Enjoy the rest of the day.